I originally wanted to make this video on Test Realm when it was still going and never got around to it. There's just a lot of things that were happening with the most recent Test Realm, and I had a lot of other videos I wanted to make. I didn't even get to make all the videos I wanted to from the Test Realm because just, I don't know, I was busy and a lot of things were going on. Now I'm able to finally make this video talking about my opinions on this new update as a whole and kind of going through some of the highlights of the update, good and bad. I made a list, so hopefully everything is organized and it makes sense with what I'm about to say. But this update has been on the live servers for a couple weeks now, and it still feels like they're working on patching a lot of things since it's been put onto the live servers. I could tell that, especially with the stuff they put in the crown shop, some things were still glitched. The pet wasn't on Test Realm, but the pet they put out was available for gold for a brief window of time. So they had that going on, and there was a lot of things that carried over from Test Realm that they never patched, including some of the bosses, some of the gear, which I'll talk about. Here are my opinions on the update as a whole. For the content, the length of the quest line, and what we actually got out of this update, there is actually a lot. If you do the side quest, if you farm for gear and all that stuff, there's a decent amount. And farming for gear is going to take people a little bit, because they did some things to make this gear hard to get. And for me personally, I'm probably going to go for the gear on my storm. It's going to take me a while, and I haven't even started farming for it yet because I'm waiting. So the length of the dungeon, which I don't even want to call it a dungeon because it's more than that. This is a dungeon. The actual Doug quest, which I haven't done on Live Realm on my life. This is actually a dungeon because it's just one thing that you go through. It's level 30, so it's nothing crazy. But that is a dungeon that you just do. And you can get some XP from that. You get some, I don't know if it has loot for level 30, but the 130 quest it's not just one dungeon. It's a lot of dungeons, and it's a whole quest line. There's also a bunch of side quests in there too, in the catacombs that you can go through. And there's some cool bosses in there. I actually haven't done them yet. Maybe I'll do some videos on the side bosses once I get around to it. But I have not done the catacombs yet on any of my characters on Live Realm. I only did it on Test Realm and showed you guys. That's because I'm waiting. Since I've seen a lot of issues, I don't even know if they're all fully patched yet, but there's been a lot of things that carried over from Test Realm that have still not been patched. I know they patched it recently, fixing up some of the bosses and some of the loot drops, so hopefully it's all good. But with the actual content that we got, it is a lot. I feel like you can go through it fast. If you don't listen to dialogue, you can get through it pretty quickly, but the thing that's going to take you a long time is farming for gear. So it is a decent amount. It's longer than Darkmoor. A lot of people were comparing it to Darkmoor. It's longer than Darkmoor. In terms of how long it's going to take you to farm for the gear, I feel like it might take you longer than getting your Darkmoor gear, because for Darkmoor you can spam the chest. This one, I think there's a couple bosses that have chests, but not the last 3 bosses. I don't think they have chests. So it's probably going to take you a little bit longer to actually farm for this gear. And I don't even know if people fully discovered where all the gear's dropped yet, since you have to craft it. You have to get like the gear before it dropped, and then you can craft the best gear, the top tier. What I wish would have happened though is I wanted them to, now that I see everything that they put in this update, I wish they could have gotten this Doug quest out before the fall update happened. I wish we could have gotten this before, because this kind of leads into the 130 catacombs quest, and it would have been so cool if they could have done this, and then for the fall update we got the 130 dungeon and all that stuff. So the level 30 dungeon would have come out a little bit earlier, and then people would have been able to do that. So they had an update to the Decathlon, and they had an update to Beast Moon. Beast Moon was a new map, which I haven't tried yet. I want to wait for the live room release of that, and then I'll try the new Beast Moon map. And they also were testing out a new Decathlon Stage 10, 10 floors of the Decathlon, which I did try. And I'm going to wait to give you guys my opinion on that, but let me tell you, I really don't like it. I'll give my opinions on that when they actually come out with the Stage 10 Ice Decathlon. I'm not going to do it, but I'll just talk about it when it's out. Because, yeah, I really don't like the changes they made to that. That is one thing that I wish they would have... I don't know, there's just like certain things that they changed, like the endurance I really don't like, and like the limited credits that they tried to do. It's just kind of annoying. Since we're talking about things that I haven't made videos on, I want to make a video on the Backpack Butler and the update to the hatchmaking kiosk. I know it's such a cool little feature, and I should have made the video a lot earlier, but I'll get to it. It's just something I'm kind of waiting on, because it's not necessary for me to make a video on it, but I want to look at it just because I think it's really cool that they actually added that in, and that you can get it without paying crowns. So I'll do that eventually as well. One of the most disappointing things that they put into this update is the spell writing system. And I don't even think I have it on this character because I never got any drops yet since I haven't done the new dungeons. But spell writing is something that I feel like has a ton of potential. I know we haven't even seen all the updates and all the spells that they can put into it yet. But as of how it is right now, I just feel like it has so much more potential than what they're showing. And I also don't like how they took it with the Nightbringer and Daybreaker spells. Because, for one, they nerfed the spells with the pips that it takes. I don't know if they changed how many spell elements it costs to actually get them upgraded, but it's a lot, so you're going to have to farm a lot to get those. And there's also just no other spells you can upgrade yet. I really thought they were going to add in the rank 1 and 2 spells onto test drum so we could test that, but they're still waiting on that, so I'm not sure how that's even going to work. And I feel like spell writing just wasn't explained enough either. So you can get the new spells. If you get enough spell elements, you can get those spells and use them. The other thing that they changed is you can't use those spells on polymorphs. And when I made my video on the 2 new spells, and I was using them to enchant, just kind of test things, the best thing that you could enchant was Strike. Strike was just a crazy enchant, and I loved it. And I thought it would be a really cool strategy to enchant that and kind of delay your Strike cast and then set something up that would combo with it. But they completely just removed that. You can't do it with a polymorph. I don't know if they only did that because it was bugged and they didn't want to fix it, or if they actually don't want you to be able to use that with it. But I thought that made it actually viable. I'm sure other people can find other ways, but that to me seemed like you would get the most value out of that spell is if you enchanted Strike and did that. So since they ruined that, I'm not sure if people are going to make use of it. Maybe they will still, but in PvE, I really don't see me using it. Yeah, PvP, that's why I thought Strike would be pretty cool with it, but we'll just have to see. I mean, maybe people have found other cool strategies with it, but I just feel like they kept nerfing it, and I was a little disappointed in that. So, of course, we haven't seen any other spells come out with spell writing yet, so I'm just waiting on it, but it just seems something that I feel like should have released with more spells, and hopefully that's coming soon so we can actually see and upgrade our lower level spells. But it also feels like, to me, they don't know where they want to go with it yet, and that's one thing where I'm like, should they have revealed it with just the 2 spells? And I've also heard that maybe to get spell elements, it's going to be from packs. There's going to be some kind of like spell element pack, or they're just going to put it in other packs or something. And that, to me, I'm like, okay, if they're going to make it, you know, pack only reagents, which they've done before on, you know, the gauntlet and stuff like that, that doesn't seem that fun. And I don't know if that'll be worth it to upgrade your spells by having to spend crowns and get it from a pack. The other thing in this test realm and the update that's now on live that I didn't like is the new gear. And they tried to update some of the gear to make it better, and there are pieces of gear that are really good. Okay, don't get me wrong. There are pieces of gear that are definitely worth the upgrade, and I want them upgraded on my Storm. Like my life, I just kind of, you know, leave my Jade gear. I don't need to update my Jade gear. Like, it's fine. I have like 130 something. I have 136% outgoing, so I'm good. You know, I'm just sitting here, 81 resist, and I'm healing. That's all I do on my life. I don't upgrade the gear really. But on my Storm, it would be really nice to get the upgraded gear. The boots in particular are the best piece of gear that you can upgrade with the 130 Catacombs gear, because they give a sharpen and a potent card, which is super good. So you get down your boots and you can use it to have another blade, which is awesome. And I really like that. But how they made it to get this gear is different than they did on any other gear. So for this one, they made it craftable only. I feel like they've kind of led up to this point where previously in Imperia Part 2, they had the ability to craft gear with the Paradox gear, but you could also get it dropped. This time they took away the drop potential and just said, in order to get the top tier gear, you're going to have to farm, get a second tier piece of gear, and then craft the top tier, which adds a lot more to the effort of actually farming and getting this gear. For me, I feel like they did this to kind of draw out the update and to make players spend more time to get this gear, because this is the only big content that we're getting for a while. Could be the only content that we get for a whole year. I mean, we might get content in the middle of like next year, and I don't think we're gonna get anything early next year, but we could get like smaller things. But usually the big content update is the fall, and that's what we got. So they're trying to kind of drag that out a little bit because this isn't a new world. This is just I mean, this whole thing, if you think about it, is a side area. Darkmoor was a side area, and that's what this is. So it's a side area. It's optional, but for players that want it, they put the best gear there. And the gear is basically just upgrades to the Paradox gear. You're not going to get a better robe from this because they're not upgrading the robes. They're not changing the Darkmoor robes, or they're not changing these robes to be better than the Darkmoor robes, I should say. And the other pieces of gear are better. Like for my Storm, I would go for the hat, the boots, I think maybe the Athame and ring. And well, the ring for sure was better. I'm not sure about the Athame. I had to look at that. There's also no decks. I don't think there's any decks that you can get upgraded. So Paradox deck is what people are going to still be using, I'm pretty sure. And from what I've heard, getting the tier 2 gear that you need in order to craft the top tier is extremely difficult. They've made the percentage really small for getting the Vanguard gear, so that to get the top tier, the Dragoon gear, you have to farm for that. So it's basically like getting 2 pieces of gear. Like you have to get the drop of the first one, which can be any school. It doesn't have to be your school, so you can use it to another school's Dragoon boots in order to craft yours, which is nice. But they made the Vanguard gear small drop percentage. So you're going to have to farm whatever boss drops it. Probably a lot to get it. You also need to get all these reagents, you know, multiple times if you're going to craft all the gear. And it's going to be a lot of farming. Which, for me, when I was farming for my Paradox gear, oh, it was so annoying. I struggled pretty hard to get certain Paradox gear. And the hardest thing for me for Paradox gear farming was the Storm boots. That took me forever. I got like 10 Stormy Paradox hats before I got the boots, I'm pretty sure. Maybe more than that. It was crazy. One thing I really like about the new dungeon is the bosses are pretty cool. The bosses have unique animations, they have unique looks and cheats and all that stuff, and people are coming up with strategies to do that. The Devourer had a lot of bugs. I'm pretty sure they fixed it, but that one was tough just because of the bugs. I don't know if it's still like that. Hopefully it's fixed by the time that I get there again and actually want to farm it, because I'm not going to farm something that's still bugged. So I hope that the Devourer is fixed, and the Renegade Druid isn't that tough anymore with the strats that people have and the strats that I used in my video on Test Realm. So that one's pretty easy. And the second one, the one in Valencia, that one isn't too bad either, if you know what you're doing. So the bosses aren't crazy difficult. The Devourer takes a while just because he has a lot of health, and he has so much resist. That's one thing that's going to take a while for people to farm. If you're farming the Devourer, it's just going to take a while because he has 100k health and a lot of resist, and they do that on purpose. So that one's going to be tough. You have to farm for that and get a certain gear drop. But I do like how difficult the bosses are. I think it's good. It takes a lot of effort to be able to go through that and farm it and actually finally get the drop. Who knows how many times it's going to take to farm and actually get the Vanguard drop. I just feel like that's going to be horrible. So yeah, overall, I think this update was good, but I really wish the spell writing system was better. That's like the main thing that I just look at. I'm like, man, that could be so much better. I just know it can, and they can still redeem it and make it better. But for me, I'm personally not going to be going for a Nightbringer and Daybreaker unless I just farm it enough and eventually get it. Then I'll just be like, okay, I'll just redeem it and get the free spell. But I really think the spell writing system could have been better. The gear also could have been better with what upgrades we're getting for a 130, you know, new Darkmoor dungeon. Could have been a little bit better with, I don't know, like, I wish we could get an upgrade on all slots. But then I think about it, I'm like, man, but that would take forever to farm it with how they set it up, with being able to only craft the gear. So maybe it's good that we have like a limited amount of stuff that we actually want to upgrade. The other thing I wish that was a little bit better is I feel like we were still in test realm when this came to live, because there's still a lot of things that were left unpatched that they still had to fix. So if you went into the catacombs and did everything the day that it came to live realm, there's probably still a lot of glitches and bugs that were in test realm that they hadn't fixed yet, and they had to do later patches to it, which is why I'm fine with waiting. I do it in test realm to show you guys and to give my initial thoughts on it and just to kind of experience it. But then I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, if I'm going to farm it, I want to make sure all the bugs are out of there before I, you know, go in and farm it consistently to get everything. Because I don't want to have a run be ruined by a bug. Like that fizzle glitch on the Devourer, That was really bad. I think they patched that, but that was really bad. So let me know what you guys think of the new update, if you're farming for the 130 gear, or if you like it, hate it, whatever. Let me know in the comments. Leave a like if you guys made it through this whole video. I know it's kind of long, but I had a lot to say because I haven't actually put all my thoughts on this update into a video yet, so I wanted to do that. But thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. We're almost to 170k subscribers, so if you want to help me get there, then go ahead and subscribe if you haven't yet. But thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.